Welcome back. We just heard about the allegation State Representative Fabian Basabe slapped one of his aides across the face. Basabe is no stranger to being in the news. A former reality TV performer, he won his seat by just 242 votes last year. He campaigned promising to be a moderate Republican who would support gay rights and a woman's right to have an abortion. Since getting to Tallahassee, however, his voting record has been anything but moderate. I started our interview by asking him about what it has been like to be a state representative.
So everybody has their impression of what this experience might be like, including myself. I mean, I had people telling me how much I'd be able to get accomplished. I had other people telling me, beware, you're going to be a freshman, you won't be able to get much done. And I have to tell you, the welcome that I've had here, being not only a new member, but also a brand new district, and one that's really never been properly represented in the past, whether it be because of partisanship or whatever. This is the first real time that my district in decades has had a true participation and real access to the potential of the partnership that we now have with our state capital. So it's magnificent. I mean, I'm getting a lot done.
Can you give me an idea of what you think you're accomplishing?
I came up here with, I tried to be as neutral as possible. I focused a lot on infrastructure, resiliency, the environment. So I've got a septic to sewer bill that's been now absorbed into the government's action plan. This is going to be tremendous because I'm going to bring back a lot of funding, not just for our district, because it affects all of Florida. I propose stuff for state law, a lot of money to repair all of our pipes underneath our buildings and homes. All of this that needs to be repaired that we haven't been able to afford to repair in the last 40, 60 years, that's been breaking over the years and leaking into our bays. So our Biscayne Bay is dying and we need to do everything we can to save her. So that money, for our district is really important. And then throughout Florida, we're going to have a lot of funding to go from septic to sewer conversions. That's being fast tracked. It's gotten absorbed into the governor's plan. So it's a done deal. This is a huge step forward for what we need to really rebuild our infrastructure, harden our utility lines and all of that, and face the future stronger. Because with insurance rates going up and citizens being what was not ever meant to be a last resort, kind of our only resort right now, everything we've got is unsustainable. We need to respond.
Let me just jump in because you talk about insurance, and one of the issues I did want to get you to address is I believe that you during the earlier session supported a measure requiring flood insurance for even condominium owners, so that if you lived on the 20th floor of a condo on Miami Beach, whereas in the past you didn't have to buy flood insurance, now you did. Can you explain why you supported that measure?
So a big part of this, and I studied some of the proposals from both sides, and what we came up with is a short-term solution to keep some level of insurance here. We do not have insurance companies interested in insuring our Floridians, and if we can't get insurance, we can't get mortgages. We can't. What we have is not going to work. So this temporary plan is to kind of keep citizens, which was never meant to be our first choice. That was a last resort insurer.
But what I'm trying to figure out is how does requiring homeowners or condo owners on a high-rise to buy flood insurance?
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to the answer. The answer is, and I know it'd be so easy if the answers were just so simple, but it's not. There's a lot of moving pieces. So if you can't keep an insurance company here, we don't get insurance. And if that's what they feel they need to be able to last at least one more season, we can't. What we've got is literally going to last one more natural disaster. So it's not meant to solve the problem, aside from the fact that at least we're able to have some insurance. You've got to do a little give and take and find some middle ground to incentivize these agencies to even stay and work with us in Florida. What we have, we need to start taking more proactive measures and rebuilding our infrastructure, reinforcing and hardening our infrastructure so that we can revisit those insurance rates and bring them down. In the meantime, we've done things like revised some of the homeowners or the property insurance plans. We've tackled some tort reform stuff. It's not the answer, not yet. We have a lot of work to do on insurance.
Let me move on. I know that you said that the overwhelming majority of legislation passes with bipartisan support and is not controversial, but there are fairly controversial pieces of legislation. I think it's fair to say that you ran as a moderate Republican who was supportive of a lot of different LGBT issues and a number of other issues, and yet your voting record would suggest a little bit different. For instance, you support the expanded version of the parental rights and education law, what the critics say the Don't Say Gay law, to move it from just K through third grade, expand it all the way through high school. Why are you supporting that?
So here's what the advocacy groups that are marketing this disinformation don't tell you. What I campaigned on as a common sense candidate is that I would get up here and I will fix the things that are broken. And the main specific thing on that bill that I campaigned on, because the rest of the bill says what it says and for the most part makes sense, but there was a section of that bill, specifically lines 97 to 101, that lent themselves to be interpreted as if it was targeting a community that I very much support, love, and live among. So the first thing I did when I got up here is I found the bill sponsor. Now, expanding it from pre-K to 8th grade, that's a PG-13 level. I mean, you're basically saying, listen, when you're addressing kids, let's keep things age appropriate. And as mature adults, we have an obligation to interpret that in the best interests of children and not politicize that. In no way whatsoever, in my opinion, and from what I read, the way this reads and how I understand it and how I responsibly interpret it, does this bill in any way target our community? Because I removed those lines. I said I would, and I did it. Lines 97.
Sorry, what lines did you remove?
Lines 97 to 101 are the
Which say what?
I can't recite them because I don't have it in front of me. I'll give you the gist of it. It basically references all teachers, students, and then it goes on to separate, as including the LGBTQ, gay, bi, lesbian, trans community. And it lists them as if somehow they're meant to be separate. And I only consider that community one. All students, all teachers means all students, all teachers. There is no divide.
The bill still says that you cannot instruct students
it does not
on sexual identity or sexual orientation. Is that correct?
It does not say that. What the bill says is you may not, and the reason for the may and not the shall not you are absolutely prohibited. The reason why it's you may not. This is not only to protect children, but also teachers, because right now teachers, they're going into classrooms and there's been a lot of activity on this subject matter, and it's permeated the classrooms and the teachers cannot keep up. So if a teacher misrepresents a pronoun, they are now insensitive. And all of a sudden that becomes an issue. And this is just a big problem because the teachers have enough trouble. They have enough trouble memorizing the kids of these overpacked classrooms with the birth certificate names that these children are registered in. Now they have to go along and memorize their preferred pronouns, which for some cases are multiple. This is a lot of pressure.
I just want to try to keep it simple. The bill still prohibits instruction.
It most certainly does not.
You're saying that the fact that it says it may not include instruction on sexual identity or sexual orientation, you think that's a good thing, that it says may instead of shall not?
Do you have the bill in front of you? Because you're mixing up the lines here. The may not is addressing to the pronouns, and the instruction, when you're referring to the actual classroom instruction, that means if a math teacher walks into the classroom and the bell rings, and for the next 42 minutes, what they're supposed to be teaching is math, they need to actually teach math. Now, before that bell rings, after that bell rings, in the hallways, whatever personal relationships they make before or after school, everything is okay. Now, as educators,
why is the LGBT community so opposed to this bill if this bill is, in your opinion, benign?
Well, what's not benign is the misinformation being marketed by the advocacy groups that are basically weaponized, activists for the DNC at this point, like Equality Florida. These advocacy groups get a lot of funding, and what they're supposed to be doing is helping our children, helping our communities, for anyone that's been struggling with displacement, identity. And instead, they're launching marketing campaigns and building a further divide. They're using our children as pawns in their political theater.
Are you supporting the 6-week abortion ban?
I'm going to answer that on the House floor because I have a way that I'd like to address this. My personal views are one thing, but when I'm in government, I believe that to govern the masses, you need to be somewhere in a common sense and respectful middle ground, especially on this subject. And this is a very, very tough subject because I take the respect for life deep to heart, and so should many, and so do my voters, by the way. I don't think either extreme will work. I think, and this is going to shock you when I say it, right now, the Republican Party is the only party that is offering a choice. Because when you have the other side that will not come to the table, they will not take anything less than their far extreme proposition, it's a problem.
Define what you think is the far extreme position by the other side.
So let's put it this way. I've had meetings with Planned Parenthood. I've worked a lot on the abortion issue because I campaigned on it. I said that I would protect women's rights and that I would vote for a respectful choice that is, fair. And I do the work. I got here. I did the work. I spoke to the members on both sides of the aisle. I could not get the Democrats to come to the table on abortion. They want full late term, no compromise whatsoever. And I said, but listen, the world is bigger than what you think.
Explain what Democrat told you they want full late-term abortions as law in Florida. Right now, the law was 24 weeks. Now it's 15 weeks, and this bill takes it to 6 weeks. It's a fairly straightforward question. I know you say you don't want to say it until you're on the floor, but will you support the 6-week ban?
So Planned Parenthood gave me an option that works for them. They gave me some exceptions that are not obstacles, and they said it works with 12 weeks. And I said, well, why would you want to go from 15 to 12? And we understood that there's a compromise that has to be made. Right now, we're at 15 with exceptions that are not the content-rich exceptions that Planned Parenthood thinks works, because there are some other things that need to be included. Those things are going to get included.
But that's not on the bill. The bill right now is not 12 weeks. The bill is 6 weeks. And again, my question, I'm just trying to be direct. Will you support a 6-week ban on abortion?
You do remember that initially there was going to be a ban in the state of Florida of abortion. And we got to 15 weeks with exceptions, and the 6 weeks is where we're at. But the Republicans are negotiating against themselves. Mind you, I find it disturbing and completely disrespectful that we're negotiating life based on weeks. This should not be something that we're used to campaign on either side. We need to show some respect for life. We need to reach a comfortable middle ground. We are not there yet because there is only one side coming to the table.
But it's only one side coming to the table in the sense that the Republicans are the ones who have supermajorities in the House and the Senate. The Republicans control this process. The Republican legislature is passing a 6-week ban. Will you support a 6-week ban? Yes or no?
I'm not deflecting the question. I am going to answer this on the House floor. I said it already, so I'm not wasting your time on it. This is not something that I'm going to answer in a minute. I'm not going to get provoked to answer. This is something that's important. I have a duty to represent my constituency. There's a moral compass involved here. There's respect for life involved here. I'm not happy at where we are in the negotiations because only the Republican Party came to the table, not because they're a supermajority, but they are here. They're here ready, and the other side did not budge.
Let me ask you you talk about the role of government. Should government really care whether or not there are drag shows taking place on Miami Beach?
So I just spoke about that this morning, actually. And I was trying to explain, there's a representative who proposed this bill, and it's not about whether drag shows can exist. It's about, I guess, a certain level of appropriateness. And there's a lot of activists in everything these days, right? And one thing that I appreciate about the bill, not just that the intent was to help and protect children and their innocence, but I think it helps and protects the drag industry, because it's taking a lot of heat, because you've got a lot of drag activists that are, provocative and doing distasteful or vulgar things to get some attention because they know it's a hot topic, and the advocacy groups can market that as somehow being against the LGBTQ community, but instead it's just stuff that should be maybe happening in an adult room. Drag queens are showgirls. They put on a great show. I think they give great performances. They've been around for centuries. There was a time in Miami Beach that you could not go to a party and think it was a great party until Miss Elaine Lancaster or Miss James St. James or Miss Kitty Meow would show up. There was a time that they were our local celebrities, and they are wonderful performers, wonderful. But there's a difference between the drag show that they do at the Palace, which is family friendly and appropriate, and then there's the drag show that they do at Twist, which is a nightclub that you have to be of a certain age to enter. That one can be more provocative and sexual in nature, but you can't take the provocative and sexual show and market it as art in front of children. It's not age appropriate. And that's all that.
But there are already laws on the books about decency and child endangerment and all those other things. It seems like for a lot of bills like this one, the desire on the part of the sponsors and those who are pushing the bill are to stigmatize and demonize drag performers.
Absolutely not. And I actually encourage you to listen to the debate from this morning's State Administration Committee. I'm on that committee. I heard the debate. I saw some of the activists come in and these advocacy groups that are trying to put that spin on it again, because that's something you can campaign on and fundraise with. Mind you, these advocacy groups, they get a federal grant for every letter of the alphabet that they market. LGBTQIA, even that plus gets a federal grant. This is all money that's not actually going to serve the communities. It pays high salaries that these advocacy group activist agents get, and it pays for their ad campaigns in disinformation. I love a good drag show. I'm going to be in the Pride Parade this weekend. I will be, hopefully, as I usually do, leading the Twist Parade out for the finale among amazing performers. These showgirls do not deserve to be put in a category of activism as being marketed by these advocacy groups.
So what happened on the abortion vote? When it came time to cast his vote either in favor of a 6-week ban on abortion or to vote against it, Basabe decided to take a walk and did not vote at all.